Budgeting and tracking your money are essential to proper money management. I'm Rex Odopare Amwapun, and in this video I'll walk you through my personal Excel finance tracker, the same tool I use to keep my income, expenses and savings organized throughout the year. You don't need to be an Excel expert to use it. I will guide you step by step on how to input your data, track your spending, and stay on top of your financial goals. And the best part, you can download this workbook for free. An amazing thing is that you can also use it on your mobile phone. So you can start managing your finances with clarity and confidence. Let's dive in and set up your very own finance tracker. In this very workbook, I have 6 different sheet tabs, all named accordingly. And one thing you need to note is that the names of the sheets are used in most of the formulas, so changing them may affect the structure of the workbook. So it's necessary you maintain the names of the different sheet tabs. The first one from the left is the settings. Here is where you input the year that you are going to start using the workbook. So here you can see I have the starting year, and the year I have here is 2025. So you can change it if you are using it in 2026 or 2027 or any other year. So that one becomes the starting year for the workbook. So for the budget tracking and dashboard too, I have the late income here. Here you can shift the late income to the next month. That is if you set this one to active and specify a date here, like I have here 28th day in the month. What happens is that any income that you will track on this date or after this date in the very month will be spent in the following month. So you can see here I have a note here saying if the shift late income is active, any income that is tracked after the set date will be spent in the following month. And you can change it from active to inactive also here. And the moment you set it to inactive, the day in the month will be grayed out as it has done here on the first sheet tab named settings. Moving on to the second sheet tab named drop down. Here I have the current year and then the starting year also here. So moving downwards, we just add one to the previous year. So you can see that going down, the years keep on increasing. So we have up to 2056. You can increase it by just selecting the last one and then filling it down. In column E2, I have the period drop down where I have the total year and then the current month as well as the month from January to December. So these ones are used on the dashboard that we will talk about later. On the third sheet tab named calculation, here is where all the calculations are done to visualize it on the dashboard. So here we need not to make any changes on this sheet tab. Changing the name too may affect the structure of the workbook. So it's important you maintain it as it is and it will work perfectly for you. Now on the fourth one named planning is where the budgeting is done. So here I have 3 different tables all named and serving different purposes. So here I have one for income, another one for expenses, then the last one is for investments. Changing the names may affect the structure of the workbook. So here what you need to do is just enter the income category, the expenses category, and then the investment category. So as you can see, a few income categories that I have entered here are salary, side hustle, business, and allowances. You can change all of them to anything that you want to put there. So here you can add more to the list by just adding it right after the last one. So for example, you click on the enter income category, then you put the category there. So for example, let's say we are adding sales, then you hit enter. Now here one thing you need to note is that when you are entering or adding the category, you should add it right after the last one so that it can automatically be added to the table. You can see that from the bottom right corner here. Again, if you add more categories to a point where you do not have other cells left here, you can add more rows by clicking on the last row, then you right click on it, then you go to insert. So when you click on the insert, another row will be inserted so that you can add more to the list. But after inserting the row, you need to fill the formula for the totals down so that the totals for that row will be calculated nicely. So you can see here that I have the dashes for the rows that we are yet to make entries in, and for the one that we just inserted, we do not have the dash there, meaning no calculation is being made for that one. So when you click on the one right above it, you can see that here we have the sum function doing the calculation for us. So to fill it down, since we are using it for other years also, a better way of doing it is by selecting the one right on top of it, then moving to the last year, then you hold down the shift key on your keyboard and you click on the cell right above the one that you inserted to select the entire row right above the one that you inserted. So you can use the fill handle at the bottom right corner here. You click and hold, then you drag it down for it to fill the formula down for all the other years, so that the calculation will be done for all the other years also. So you can do same for the expenses and the investments also. Another thing that you need to note here is that the months for each year are grouped together. So you can see here that since I am working in only the 2025, that one is opened, and the other ones like the 2026, 2027 up to the last year, they are all grouped together. Now to ungroup any of the years, you can press Ctrl 8 on your keyboard, and now you can see that I have the buttons on top to expand each group or to collapse the groups. So here you can see that for the 2025, you can use the minus here to collapse the group, and you can see the 2025 is now grouped together. So if you want to expand the following year like the 2026, you can click on this one to expand it so you can use it for the budgeting. And to collapse the group, again, you can use the minus here to collapse it. Now, if you want to again hide the buttons, you can press Ctrl plus the 8 to hide them nicely. If you also want to add more of the groups after the year 2055 here, you can ungroup the last year by pressing Ctrl 8 again, then click on the plus here to ungroup it. Then you select the last year. For example, I am selecting from PI. Then to the last one, make sure you include the space right after the total. Then you hover your mouse on the top right corner for it to change to the little plus icon there. You click and hold and you drag to the right for it to be added nicely. As you can see here, I have added another one for 2056. Now for the years up here, you need not to add them on this sheet tab. You can do everything on the settings sheet tab. So you can see on the top row, I have adjust starting year in the settings here. So the year that you put here as the starting year will automatically be adjusted for the other ones. After that one, you can group it back by clicking on the minus here, and it will be grouped together nicely. Now you can hide those buttons by pressing Ctrl 8 again, and they are gone. To bring them back, Ctrl plus 8. Another thing that you need to consider here is that on this budget, we are focusing on a zero balance after allocating to the categories. So here you can see that I have budgeted 20,000 cedis for the salary in January. Then I have some for side hustle, the business, and then the allowances also. For the sales, I have put nothing there. So if I put, let's say, 5,000 there, you can see that now I have 5,000 right under January here to be allocated. Because I have not allocated it to any of the expense categories or the investment categories like savings. So to do that, you can scroll down, and let's say for the savings, we are going to increase that one to 11,000. And you can see that right now I have the January changing the color from what we had earlier to the green right now. Also, you can see that calculations for each category and then the month are also automatically calculated. So below here, you can see that here for January, for the income categories and what we've added there, they are all calculated and added together down here. Then for the category across the year too, it is added across like this. So here, since I have only 20,000 there, you can see that under the 2025 year, I have 20,000. So if we should add more, let's say 2,000, you can see that it's now 22,000 there. So let's delete this. The next sheet tab that you're going to look at is the tracker. So this is the sheet that we use to track the income, expenses, and then the investments like the savings and then the others. So here on top, we have the date of today or today's date, the date of last record. So you can see that here, the date of the last record is 2nd January 2025, and it is returned up here nicely. This one also indicates the number of days passed after the last record. Then the number of tracked records in the year is also shown here. So we have 6 this year, and if you are using it for the other years also, you can see that all the total records recorded in the tracker will be shown here, and the number for that particular year will also be shown here. Then again, the total tracking balance after budget is what will be shown here. So here we have 1,000 of tracked income left to be allocated, meaning this amount is not spent or saved yet. So if we either save it or spend it, it is going to be deducted from that one. So let's say we are adding another one, assuming it is 3rd January 2025. Let's select the type to be, let's say, investment. Then for the category, let's select savings. Then let's put, let's say, 1,000 there. And you can see that we have no amount there left to be allocated. So you can put the description there for it. Now, adding records to this table is very easy. The table has 8 columns. That is date, month, type, category, amount, the description, balance, and then the effective date. So we need to always put the date here. For the month, we don't have to enter anything there because it will automatically be returned. So adding another date, let's say 4th of January 2025. You can press tab on your keyboard and you can see that the month is automatically returned there, and you press tab again and move to the other column. So for the type, this is where you select whether the record is either an income, an expenses, or an investment. So if it's an income, then you select income, and what you select under the type will determine the category list that will be shown under the category here. So selecting the income, for example, you click on the drop down here and you can see that we have the salary, the side hustle, business, the allowances, and then the sales. If you change this one to expenses, you can see that the list under the category will change. So we now have food, house rent, bills. You can change all of that on the planning sheet by entering the categories there. So on the tracker here, we need not to type the categories when entering the records. You just need to use the drop downs here to select them. So the list is dependent on what you add on the planning sheet tab. So these ones are what we are seeing there. So let's select any category, like let's say food, and move to the next column. So here, if we put any value here, let's say 2000, and move to the distribution column, you can see that right now we have a negative amount here. The negative is telling us that we are spending more than the amount that we budgeted as our income. So you can easily identify that one right on the tracker sheet. So for the description too, you can just put anything there to help you remember exactly what you spent on, or the source of that income, or the investment that you use that money for. So let's say for the last one here, let's put a bag of rice there. Let's say a bag of rice. And it's going to help you to always remember exactly what you spent on or what you use the money for. Now, the last sheet tab that we are going to talk about is the dashboard. And this is where everything is visualized nicely for us to always keep track of the money. So here we have the breakdown for the year, that is under the income, the expenses, and the investment also. So here you can see that we have the tracked column versus the budget here, and then the percentage completed, as well as the remaining and then excess. Now here, the tracked is a summary of what we have on the tracker sheet. So here, for the income categories, you can see that I have 15,000 for salary and then another 15,000 for the business. So when you go to the dashboard, you can see that the tracked are here. So 15,000 for the salary and then the 15,000 for the business, and the total is 30,000. But we budgeted for 51,000, and you can see that we have 20,000 for the salary as our budget. And when we go to the planning sheet tab, you can see we have 20,000 here. Then on the dashboard, you can again see that we have 75% of what we budgeted for. So we budgeted 20,000 and we've tracked 15,000, meaning we have 5,000 still to be tracked. For the business, we budgeted for 10,000 and we've tracked 15,000. So here we have an excess of 5,000 in that category. So for the other ones, we have just the budgets and we are yet to track anything for those ones. So here we have 0%, and the remaining amounts are exactly what we have as the budget. And it is the same for the other types, like the expenses and then the investment. Now on top here, you see we have selected year and period, and then the period also. So these ones, they are dependent on the year here. So when you click on this one, you can always maintain it on the current year so that it updates automatically. Or if you use it for other years and you want to go back to a particular year or see the details or the visualizations of the other years, you can select them from this list. So for the period too, you can use this drop down to change those ones. So you can either choose the total year, and what you have on the dashboard will be the summary of the whole year, or you can select a particular month to know the details of each category, or you can always keep it on the current month so it updates automatically. So if we change it to, let's say, January, and go back, you can see that now we have the selected year being 2025. The period is the January, and the percentage passed for the period selected is 100%. So which means we are already done with January in the year 2025. And the period tracking balance here will help you to know whether you have an amount left to be allocated or you are spending more than what you have in the budget. And the period investment rate here helps us to know the percentage of our income that we are investing or saving. So this one too is important and helps us to know the amount or the percentage that we are saving or investing from the income. Then we also have other charts here helping us to know more about each category. So here you can see that I have the income categories. This is the tracked. So here the salary, as we saw from the tracker, we've tracked 15,000, and then the business also 15,000. So on the dashboard here, we have the salary being 15,000 and the business being 15,000. If I am to change the values, let's say making this one 20,000 and this, let's say 10,000, you can see that the size of the salary category has increased here. So when you hover on it, you can see that is representing 67% of the value. So we also have another one for the expenses categories. This is the tracked, and then we have one for the investment categories. Now the last one that we are going to talk about is the tracked versus the budget here. So here you can see that we have the months January, February, March, and then the other ones down here. Then we have some bars here. Now for these checkboxes, the first one that has been filled with a green color represents the income. The second one is for the expenses, and the third one here is for the investments. So if you want to compare any of the two categories only, let's say we want to compare the income and the expenses, we can toggle this one off and you can see that it has left the chart here. So now we are just comparing the income and then the expenses. If you want to just see the income only, you can again toggle this one off and you are now seeing the bar for the income. And for the blue one here, since the chart is for the tracked versus what we budgeted, you can see that we have two shades of the green here, and let's add the other ones also. So you can see we have two shades of the green, and the first part here represents the amount that we've tracked, and what we have down, what's the deep green, is for what we budgeted. So again, if we are tracking more than what we budgeted, we can see that using this bar. So to toggle that one also off, you can just use this to turn the tracked off, and you can see only the bars for what we have in the budget. So that is it for how you can use the workbook to track your income, expenses, and the savings, as well as other categories. Thank you for watching. I'm Rex Odopere, and I hope this finance tracker helps you to take control of your money and achieve your financial goals. You will find a free download link in the description below. Just click and start using it right away. If you found this helpful, please like the video, subscribe for more practical Excel tools, and share this with someone who might benefit from it. Your finances deserve attention, and with the right tools, you can make smarter decisions every day. See you in the next video.